So yesterday ended up being a very busy day for severe weather across the southern plains and the Gulf Coast, especially in and around the Houston area and Lake Charles, Louisiana, an area that has been hit hard by severe weather over the past couple of weeks. And you can see a lot of wind reports in the blue, a lot of hail reports in the green, and in the red, tornado reports, even a landspout tornado up here into northeastern portions of Montana yesterday from Thursday, May 16th. It was a very active day for severe weather. Now, current conditions across the country are quieted down from yesterday. We can see the Houston area and Lake Charles are dry as of this morning. All the rain showers and thunderstorm activity is across the eastern 2/3 of the country, and this is mainly just your garden variety type of showers and storms. But as we go through the afternoon, evening, and into tonight, we do have a couple areas we're watching for some severe weather. One up here into the high plains, up into the Dakotas, eastern Montana, and northeast Wyoming. And another area near the Gulf Coast from Louisiana eastward through Georgia, we are keeping a close eye on. But if you are new here to Weather on the Go, my name is Hunter. We go over daily weather forecasts on this channel. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below as we do cover southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics. Also, be sure to press the like button down below. So going into today, looking at the jet stream, we have a couple pieces of the jet stream that are very energized today. We have the northern branch. This is your polar jet up here to the north across portions of Wyoming, Montana, and the western Dakotas, driving the severe weather risk up here, while the subtropical jet now down near the Gulf Coast is actually driving the severe weather threat further to the south today. So we do have a couple areas of slight risks for severe weather. Level 2 out of 5 on the scale across the Dakotas into southeastern Montana and northeast Wyoming. Another area down here, again, relentless severe weather near the Gulf Coast the past couple of weeks. That continues as we go into today. We have Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, northwest Florida, and southwest Georgia in that level 2 out of 5 slight risk. It's mainly for wind and hail, but the tornado risk is there across portions of Louisiana, southern Mississippi, into southern Alabama, into South Georgia and Northwest Florida, including this brown shaded color. Areas in that risk are Mobile over here into the Dothan area and towards Montgomery, even up toward Macon, Georgia. We're keeping a very close eye on that area for potentially rotating storms, which could produce tornadoes later on today. So let's look at the northern branch first. Let's look at this afternoon across the Dakotas, Montana, and Wyoming. You can see some isolated showers and storms popping up mid-afternoon. Those will grow in coverage a little bit through the Dakotas this evening, especially as we have the peak daytime heating after 3 o'clock this afternoon and into the evening hours. Those will pose a risk for wind, hail, and a very, very low threat for tornadoes up here. I don't really expect much of a tornado risk as a lot of these storms to the north will be linear, and that will carry over into early Saturday morning across the Dakotas and into Minnesota here. Now, looking at the southern branch this afternoon, we can see scattered coverage of showers and storms already ongoing this morning. That will continue to intensify into the afternoon. Going into this evening, you can see isolated coverage here, a few supercells around. Some of these could rotate as they are by themselves, a lot of inflow into these storms, so we'll keep a very close eye on the tornado risk down here. And then as we go into early Saturday morning, it does appear the severe weather threat will be dwindling, but the flash flooding risk will be increasing as we go after midnight here, especially near the Gulf Coast, as we could be putting down some significant rainfall totals from southern Mississippi here into southern Alabama into Georgia. Areas could be seeing over 3 inches worth of rainfall here just over the next 12 hours. So there is a slight to a moderate risk for flash flooding down here across Louisiana into Mississippi, Alabama, northwest Florida, and Georgia. Another slight risk up to the north into the mid-Mississippi Valley and over here into the panhandle of West Virginia into northwestern Virginia. We also have a slight risk for flash flooding today over there. Looking at the risk categories for excessive rainfall and flash flooding, a slight risk means scattered flash floods are possible. A moderate risk means numerous flash floods are likely, especially affecting larger rivers. So if you are in that moderate risk for flash flooding near the Gulf Coast today, make sure you definitely keep up to date on your weather weather forecast, not only for severe weather, but for flash flooding. Now, going into Saturday, a couple more areas of severe weather linger across portions of the southeast coast, the coastal Carolinas, down here into Georgia, especially coastal Georgia, and into northern Florida with a slight risk level 2 out of 5 there. Little marginal risk area up here into the upper peninsula of Michigan and the northwoods of Wisconsin could pose a risk for, again, wind and hail for most of these areas that I just mentioned across the southeast, but also across the upper Midwest. Although down here across portions of South Carolina, Columbia to Charleston, all the way down into Savannah, Georgia, Macon, Georgia, down here into Jacksonville, Gainesville, and Tallahassee, Panama City, a lot of these areas have a 2% chance of a tornado as we go into Saturday, as we go into tomorrow. Keeping a close eye on that. Saturday morning, we have ongoing showers and storms clustering up across portions, especially of the Big Bend area there of Florida. That will start to dwindle into the afternoon. A new development is likely across Alabama into Georgia. This will likely be scattered, so not everybody will see these, but if you do get under one of these storm cells, they will be strong, likely producing wind and hail, but also an isolated tornado risk. And then as we go into Saturday evening, the coverage of showers and storms will dwindle from northwest to southeast, and we'll get rid of the severe weather threat with that storm. Now, as we go into the weekend, a strong ridge of high pressure will be building in across the south central U.S. This is going to open the door to moisture, but also heat across portions of the southern and central U.S. But as we go into early next week, that ridge slides east, and we have a trough introduced across the western U.S., and the battleground in between the two air masses will lead to a substantial severe weather outbreak as we go into early next week. But first, let's look at our temperatures. Going into Saturday, May 18th, you can see 80s all the way up into the western Great Lakes, places like Chicago, Milwaukee, and Green Bay, all the way up here into the mid-80s in Des Moines and also St. Louis. 90s back down across Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas as we go into Saturday. Much more widespread 80s and 90s as we go into Sunday, even triple-digit heat across West Texas where the soil is a lot drier. Temperatures heat up a lot faster with drier soil, so we'll keep an eye on that for Sunday. That continues into Monday, widespread heat, and even into Tuesday. But notice, as we go into early next week on Tuesday, a cold frontal boundary will be moving across the upper Midwest and Central Plains. Ahead of that, the heat will be fueling some storms, but behind it, some nice refreshing cool air into the 60s and 70s by Tuesday, May 21st, early next week. So let's look at the jet stream orientation late this weekend. You have the polar jet to the north and the subtropical jet further to the south. They're not both conjoined together yet, but we just have enough energy here where we could be sparking some thunderstorms that could turn severe on Sunday, May 19th to end the weekend for eastern Nebraska and into central Kansas. So around the Lincoln, Nebraska area, Hastings, and over here in towards Omaha, and then down into Wichita area here in Salina, Kansas as well. And you can see here we do have the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico opening up with that ridge of high pressure. We have 60s dew points all the way up there into Nebraska and into Kansas. That will contribute to some pretty strong instability there, especially into Kansas, over 3,000 joules per kilogram there into Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. So big time storms developing here across the plains as we go into Sunday afternoon. Even as far south as western Oklahoma and the eastern Texas panhandle need to be watching out for some of those storms. The strongest, though, will be up there near Omaha into Lincoln, Nebraska, maybe down into Salina, Kansas, and even the Wichita area Sunday evening and lingering into Sunday night. The tendency will be supercells initially Sunday afternoon, growing upscale into a line of storms as we go into Sunday evening and Sunday night as the low-level jet starts to strengthen and organizing these storms. So damaging winds and hail will be the main mode there on Sunday, but a few tornadoes will be possible. Now, as we go into early next week, notice the polar jet shifting further south, the subtropical jet shifting further north. They join forces early next week for a more substantial jet stream across the central plains, but also up here into the mid and upper Mississippi Valley region. And you can see the height anomalies on Monday. We have the ridge out east, the trough here out west, and you can see it's still kind of sticking around out west on Monday, not really fully ejecting yet. So I think the similar areas for severe weather potential on Monday as we see on Sunday with with dew points into the 60s there, advecting north into Iowa, into Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. Very strong instability, over 2,000, 3,000 joules per kilogram Monday afternoon into Monday night, and that's why the Storm Prediction Center's Day 4 outlook has that slight risk, level 2 out of 5, for Omaha and toward the Des Moines area, back into Kansas City, Topeka, and Wichita. That stretches back into Dodge City there as we go into Monday, and you can see the Colorado State University machine learning severe weather probabilities actually have that area maybe getting upgraded to an enhanced risk as we get closer to this event on Monday. So upgrades from the Storm Prediction Center to an enhanced risk may be possible in later outlooks, and you can see Monday afternoon we see scattered coverage of supercells across portions of the plains and into parts of the Midwest, especially for Missouri into Iowa. Those storms will become a little bit stronger into Monday evening as we have all that daytime heating, all those dew points and moisture levels getting a lot higher. We have the energy levels getting higher. So all modes of severe weather, damaging winds, large to very large hail, and a few tornadoes will be possible here from Nebraska down into Kansas, but also parts of Iowa and Missouri here Monday evening. Now, as we go into Tuesday, a little bit more interesting of a setup. The ridge is still out east. We have the trough finally beginning to eject from the Central Plains up into the upper Midwest, and as it does so, a more substantial area of moisture moving northward into Wisconsin, into Minnesota, into the upper peninsula of Michigan, all the way up here into the U.S.-Canadian border, and that will lead to a very unstable environment across parts of the middle and upper Mississippi Valley here back into the plains, and a large area on their Day 5 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center of a slight risk of severe weather here. This is a level 2 out of 5, 5 days out from Green Bay, Grand Rapids, all the way down into Chicago here, Milwaukee, into La Crosse, back here into Springfield, Des Moines, St. Louis, Kansas City, all the way back down into Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, and Topeka. So a lot of metroplexes in the crosshairs as we go into Tuesday here, and the Colorado State University severe weather probabilities actually has that up to a moderate, if not a high risk. So we don't want to scare anybody, but these probabilities are very bullish, and the Colorado State University machine learning probabilities have actually been very accurate this year. So we have to keep in mind that upgrades are likely to this slight risk as we get closer. This slight risk may get a little larger. We may have an enhanced, maybe even a moderate risk upgrade as we get closer to this event on Tuesday, because we have a lot of moisture, a lot of energy in the atmosphere. Tuesday afternoon from Wisconsin all the way back to Oklahoma, we could have severe weather in this entire corridor, and those storms will be rumbling through areas like Madison, Wisconsin, Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago, all the way down to St. Louis there, into places like Springfield, Illinois, Springfield, Missouri, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, a lot of metroplexes there into Tuesday evening. But as we go into the middle and end of next week and the following weekend, this is Wednesday, May 22nd into Sunday, May 26th, you can see a ridge of high pressure still keeping us pretty warm and excessively hot across South Texas, but near the Gulf Coast and out east, and then more troughs coming in out west. So the active weather pattern going into late May is actually going to remain intact across the Pacific Northwest, but also the eastern 2/3 of the country, and drier weather underneath that ridge and drought will likely be developing a lot quicker down here for Colorado, for New Mexico, and West Texas, also the Rio Grande Valley and much of southern Florida getting pretty dry as we go into the later portion of next week. So thank you guys for watching so much. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below for daily weather forecasts across southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics. We'll keep you covered on the upcoming severe weather, flash flooding concerns into next week, as more updates are likely as we go through the weekend. Keep updated with that. Make sure to like the video down below, give it a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Friday out there.